And I kind of feel that many of the basics we should have done, we haven't done yet. And therefore I'm going to do each and every one of them in my speech. I hope I'm going to finish all of them. I'm going to first explain in my first argument 3 things. I'm going to explain what is the nature of this imbalance of power, or who is stronger actually in this imbalance of power. Second, I'm going to examine thoroughly all of the alternatives they've suggested, and I'm going to show why they are not enough. Third, I'm going to show why strike is the best way to get what the workers need in some situation. This would be my first argument, which I'm going to call the best way to solve imbalance of power. In my second argument, I'm going to show what happens when you don't have the right to strike, and I'm going to show the market failure when everybody takes care of themselves and how everybody are being hurt from that. But before that, 2 points of rebuttal. Both Mufar and First Proposition had this point that we are losing money. They said when the ports are striking, then all lose money. When teachers strike, everybody lose money. So first we have to accept who is we. When we say we are talking mostly about other workers, about parents, about workers in other fields. And we think that if you don't allow them to strike, you lose a lot of money. Why? Because when their unions strike and get more money, it allows also your union to strike and get a lot of money. But if you don't allow anybody to strike, then nobody can get more money. So even if you lose, I don't know, 500 shekels because you couldn't send your kid to school, then you get a higher salary at work and it compensates for this loss. Moreover, we don't understand why if the employer is abusing the employee or not paying enough wage for the workers, why it's his fault that people are losing money because of the strike. Second, they talked about hurting everybody, and and we also already started in the PY, and we said that many times the strike is for everybody. When physicians strike, when teachers strike, when we see many sectors in the market strike, they strike also for you and for me and for everybody that sends his kids to school, for patients to have better beds or better treatments, and therefore we think we are not hurting everybody if we are getting something for everybody, even if they lose some money, especially because most people in the workplace are in unions, and therefore when everybody gets the right to strike, everybody can get it. No. First argument, try to make it quick. So first of all, corporations and tycoons, we think, have the upper hand in this imbalance of power. Why? 3 reasons. First, we think they have more influence on the government. Why? They have more money. They can influence through lobbies, they can influence through political donations, and therefore we think, and we can see it in Israel pretty clear, but also in every other country in the world, that those who have the money also have the political power. Second, we think that they have more alternatives. In the workplace, in the marketplace of today, we have a lot more workers than we have jobs. Therefore, it's less risk for them. They can fire you and get another employee if you are doing any troubles. Third, we think that they have more money, and with money comes the influence in the negotiation that they can give you or not give you. So, once there are the strong side in this imbalance of power, how do we level it? So, they presented 3 tools. They presented protest, negotiation, and legislation. Let's go over it. So, first of all, we think that protests are ineffective. Why? They don't target what the corporation cares about. The corporation cares about money. And if the protests aren't causing them to lose money, they don't give a fuck about the protest. So, I'm sorry. So, we think that most protests can't target this money, and therefore many of the protests against corporation aren't effective. If you have negotiation isn't effective without leverage. And if you don't have strike, you don't have leverage. I'm going to show you just further. And legislation. We already showed that those who have the money have more political powers, and therefore we think that they don't have so much power in legislation. So the problem with all of them is that it doesn't affect what the corporation really cares about, which is money. And here is why strike is so important. Because even if some of those tools work sometimes, they sometimes also fail. And in the case they fail, we have the last resort, which is the strike, which hurts directly the interest of those in power. It hurts directly the profit that the corporation is doing, and therefore it's the best solution for this case. Why do we think it's not abused, and why do we think that the unions don't have too much power? First of all, we think that in most cases it's a last resort, because in strike, unions also lose money. The workers don't get money for the day that they are striking. And second, we think that you do have checks and balances, like the court who can say you can't strike in this specific strike because it's not fair, or like Itai told us about Reagan, who could stop the strike, and therefore we think we do have checks and balances. Therefore we think that strikes are necessary, even if not all the time right, to the marketplace. Yes, no?
There's no difference between terrorism and striking. Both work on intimidation and no really negotiation that is crucial for both sides.
I think there is a slight difference between terrorism and striking. I'm not sure I'm going to explain it. I'm going to go to my argument, and Moore is going to answer you if she wants. Okay, I think there's a market failure when you don't have the right to strike. We already shown you that when you don't have the right to strike, the union has no meaning. You can't go and fight up for another worker if you don't have a leverage on the company. And we think that in this situation, everybody takes care of themselves. What do I mean? If I want a job, I am willing to lose $1 in order to get the job. And even if everybody are willing to do it, I still wanna do it because I can't deal with them to have the same salary or this kind of things. And what does it cause? It causes that in this world, everybody are competing. You're creating competition between the workers, and you're creating a race to the bottom. Everybody are willing to have less salary in order to promise the job for them. And we think that in this situation, you must intervene because it creates a market failure. Because while it's better for everyone to say we are not willing to accept less than 25 shekels an hour, each one individually has the interest to accept 24 and then 23 and then 19 and then 5. So we gave you two things. It's the best way to solve the imbalance of power, and it's a market failure that we must address. For those reasons, we call you to oppose.
סף לא פה, אל תתחלף. סף לא פה, אל תתחלף.